Welcome to Broken to Beautiful with Anna Drevich, a 217 recovery podcast.
Hi, I'm Anna Drevich. It's January 28th, 2020. Tuesday morning, super early, shortly after midnight. I wasn't feeling well earlier, and maybe it was procrastination, maybe it was fears. I'm a little over a year sober, and for some reason, unhealthy fears have been setting in. I don't know if it's like reality, that this is life. Maybe it's from going downstate and being around my family that I haven't seen in a year. Sometimes removing people, places, and things from your life, out of sight, out of mind. And I say that, I don't mean that rude or mean or like I've forgotten about them. But when I don't see them as much or at all, I guess it takes like that familiarity, that comfort, that sadness kind of alleviates a little bit. With my daughter, not so much, but that's a complete different story. I've been having a little bit more anxiety. Like tonight when my wife went to go to work, I started like feeling nauseous, and I don't know. It could be circumstantial, maybe it's just me being stuck in my head. But when I say unhealthy fears, like in the past, I used to worry about like my mom getting into a car accident every time she drove somewhere, or someone coming and doing something horrible, bringing a gun places, things like that. And these things do happen, which, speaking of that, it's very unfortunate, and my condolences to Kobe Bryant and his family from his loss of life and his daughters, but also for the 7 other passengers that were on board and lost their lives and their family. But back to what I was saying, there was a point in my life when I didn't really care about anything or anyone. I never want to return to that. And maybe that's a good thing to have unhealthy fears about that. Not unhealthy, but to have fears about that. However, I need to figure out how to not allow the little things to terrify me. I don't ever want to be codependent again either, and I know what I was sharing earlier sounds codependent as heck. I don't necessarily think that it's stemming from a codependent place, because I don't think I'd be able to spend 2 nights and 3 days away from my new wife every week, which it is hard. But I tell myself all the time it's only temporary. I still have yet to discover activities to do up here. Actually, we were talking about it. She was actually off, and we were sitting there, and it's like, what do we do now? She also is in recovery, and we live in the UP in a small town, but it's a seasonal town. So with it being the dead of winter, everything's closed down, especially on a Sunday night. When you're an adult and you've been doing something for so long, especially when it involves going out, going to the bar, going to the casino, whatever, and that's what you used to do, and it involved drinking, and you completely put that to a halt. Not only do you realize who your friends are, because one, they either stop calling you, or when they realize you don't drink, either they're at different stages. I'm sorry, the dog just farted. Anyways, back to reality. They're at different stages of alcoholism, or quite frankly, they were never friends to begin with. They were party buddies. It still hurts. It's still something you have to come to terms with. I know not changing everything was one of the many things that kept me sick, mainly because I wasn't ready, or that I wasn't willing to make those changes. Could have been reservations, could have been because I was in denial, who knows. It just wasn't my time. I was talking with my wife, and even my stepson and I were talking tonight about how good of a thing it is that her and I never met when we were drinking. I was what I called a wild card towards the end. And towards the end, I mean like the last 5 years. And it's really true. When you consume a certain amount of alcohol and your emotions are not in check, it's only going to amplify whatever it is you're feeling or whatever happens in that instance. Whether I was going to be the life of the party, or I was going to end up crying, or be confrontational, even though I was never violent, if someone came after or I felt was in any way, shape, or form a threat to someone that I truly cared about and loved, I may or not have gotten a punch or two in those circumstances. Usually with guys, always with guys. I did defend myself one time with my first girlfriend, but all it really ended up was her on the ground with my knee in her back. That's a long story, and for anybody that knows me, it is funny to think about now, but at the time, it was really unhealthy and quite disturbing. And when I say my knee in her back, it's because she was a lot smaller than me, well, height-wise, and would drink and get really erratic and instigate these physical fights. And this part isn't funny. I refused to put my hands on her back because I grew up in that environment. And one night I just was like, I've had enough. So arms behind her back on the ground with my knee in it. And I was like, look, I'll let you go, but it's time to go to bed. No more drinking, no more fighting. And about three sets of that later, I ended up just locking myself in the bedroom, and God only knows what she ended up doing that night. Today, though, I accept the fact that I tolerated that behavior. I stayed in that relationship, and I basically said, it's okay to treat me this way. Even though I said that, this isn't okay, I still stayed in that relationship. I still drank with her. Why? Because we were both alcoholics. Another why? Because I was really unhealthy and I didn't deal with the crap in my heart and my head. And the last why? Because I was really codependent. Codependency to me is a disease in itself. I actually ran 2 workshops on this last week, and the traits, the freaking dependency that's involved, how one side thinks they're not sick because they have their independence. No, they don't have their independence. They may be financially set. They may not have a chemical dependence, but they have that dependence on that other human being. They need to feel wanted. They need to take care of someone. They need a project because they don't want to focus on themselves. I'll find myself getting into these codependent ways and pump the brakes real quick because I don't ever want to be unhealthy like that. And if you feel that you need any help, I strongly recommend to reach out. There's hotline numbers, and I can't think of any off the top of my head. But there's always someone. I'm pretty sure everybody nowadays has a Facebook and knows someone in recovery. Reach out to that person. You're not a burden. In all reality, you make that person think, wow, that's pretty incredible that they think that highly of me, and how can I help this person? Helping others is huge. Helping others is a huge part of my recovery today. And I've had to learn how to set boundaries because if not, I would be on my phone 24/7 helping others. It amazes me, and at times feels good, and at other times I get a little stressed out how many people reach out to me on Facebook, got my email, through phone calls. However, that either I know from the past and are struggling today, know someone, or they got my number or my messenger from someone else, and I will at least lead them in the right direction. If not, do whatever I can. Sometimes just talk to someone. Someone always cares. There's people that love you, and you are not alone. So with that being said, again, when I'm by myself, I keep these short and sweet. I hope everybody has a good night's sleep, and I will talk to you, if not this week, next Monday. Check out our resources at 217.com. We just recently updated our website. It's a work in progress, so bear with us. Corey, I'm still waiting for you to put my name on the main page when you pull it up. Just a little shout out. Which Corey, you're amazing and I love you. Ryan, I love you too. 217.com, Broken and Beautiful. That's my blog and my podcast, and the boys are on their own. We need to do one together. Have a good night.